Friday at the Rant Network, 12 noon Eastern. And just remember, noon Eastern. When you think of censorship, you think of Canada. No, you think of China. They both begin with the letter C. Isn't that something interesting to understand, guys? If C is for Canada and C is for
Cookie.
China and C is for censorship, then that's for cookies off for me. Okay, guys, welcome to the Rant Network. My name's Stuart Briscoe. That's David Solomon. Sorry for the little anecdotal start with Cookie Monster. Anyways, where we bring you unfiltered, uncensored conversation, clearly uncensored because that is now posted on the web forever and ever and ever with a wide range of topics. This podcast is dedicated on a platform to express opinions. Kind of key to this whole podcast today. And share thoughts and experiences. Maybe we won't be able to after today. Anyways, from a variety of perspectives and an honest opinion, especially when it's not about Donald Trump and the United States. Join us as we dive into the latest news, pop culture, and so much more. Rants about absurdity, like C for C11, and other things. There's some deeper issues affecting society. Sit back, relax, guys, because this is going to be a wild ride. So, when we talk about week after week after week, broadcast after broadcast after broadcast, it's always about the Republicans, the Democrats, Biden, Hillary, Trump, DeSantis, transgender, gay rights, lack of rights, black, white. We've talked about just about everything in the last 3 years. Freely talked about everything in the last 3 years. Well, maybe not so free because we've been censored by Facebook, YouTube. Who else, David? I don't know. Can't think of it. But everyone has censored us because we've said something that they don't like. But they're a private entity and a private network, and they reserve the right to choose what is available on their stream, right? So for some extent, it's a contractual business obligation that you have when you buy something from them. Like Amazon has the right to sell or not sell anything that they want. They try and have a moral standard. But when you introduce politics and censorship, it becomes a whole thing that started off this rant. Is C for China or is C for Canada? But it's the same C for censorship. David?
Well, okay, so let's start from the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are in Canada listening to this broadcast, we are very fortunate that we have not been blocked. Because thanks to this wonderful King Justin and his cronies, the decision to try to regulate, and I love that word, regulate the online world, well, Justin couldn't wait to get his hands on it. So in passing legislation C11, the so-called Online Act, the idea was that he wanted to force Facebook, Meta, Google, all the rest of the big web guys to pay into what he called this, ecosystem, to pay for, Canadian content. Now, the CRTC has been controlling Canadian content forever and a day. Just to give you an idea, Stuart and I grew up in Montreal, where every radio station had to play a certain number of minutes of Canadian content on radio. CBC has
Thank God for Anne Murray.
Rush and what the rest of them. There is, when you think of all of this stuff where the government is forcing you to do that was done for many, many years, and we just got used to listening to Canadian radio, Canadian music on radio.
Watching Cougar Mellencamp.
Okay, the Beachcombers, for those of you who remember as a kid. But the thing which is not annoying is that, God bless Justin, he now wanted to force, thanks to the media houses who said, listen, we want more subsidies. We're losing this battle in the war. Media is not making anywhere near the profits they used to. And this is the big media, not the little media, the big media. So he says, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to create this ecosystem, just like in Australia, they force them to pay. We're going to make you pay. Meta, Google said, you do that, we're blocking you in Canada. And Justin said, we're calling your bluff. Well, you try to post now an article. You try to post anything from media, you're blocked on both Meta and Google and Twitter and others. So, ladies and gentlemen, what has Justin done? What Justin has done is basically hurt media in general. In general. Number two, you've got a situation right now where small media, community newspapers, community radio stations, little town places, ethnic papers, you call whatever you want, they can't publish online on to Meta, onto why? Because they've been blocked. Congratulations, Justin. You've now censored media in Canada. So at this point right now, basically, Canadians are screwed. Justin is controlling the messaging. So now if you're a conservative media platform, you can't broadcast. If you're a liberal media platform, you can't broadcast. He shut everything down. And he's smiling. Because now nobody could now it's harder to go online and crap on Justin using media. Now we could still post our rant network, we could still do certain things. Oh, wait, hold that thought. Now there's a new gig. Large companies such as Spotify and Netflix, anybody doing over more than $10 million, now must register with the Canadian Radio and Television Commission, the CRTC. And this is the next step towards censorship. This is the next step. What he's trying to do is say, no. We just want everybody to ensure that they're all part of the Canadian content and continue to do this and to do, and all this BS in the veil of trying to control the messaging. Now, you might think this is hysteria, but historically, if you just look in the last 100 years to the Stalins, the Maos, the Hitlers, the Mussolinis, and even to this day, what do all these countries and other socialist governments have in common? You control the media, you control the message. Stuart, Justin doesn't want you and me and other podcasters, people who post on Facebook, whatever, to denounce him. He wants to control to make sure that, oh, wait a minute, what we're saying might be false information. Your opinions, which we say from the very beginning, this is our opinion. We've expressed it clearly, can be censored. That will be the next step. And Stuart, the scary part is G20 leaders around the world are watching Justin. And if he succeeds, guess where they're going next?
David, very eloquently put, and I don't think there's a easier way to say that censorship isn't a good thing. You know, we have wars that have broken out because of censorship and information and messaging. We have a war currently in the Ukraine. That messaging, if you're in Russia, you think it's rebels from the Ukraine attacking the motherland. That's the message that's being given off of the national broadcasting station. Now, Canada has a national broadcasting channel as well. It's called CBC, right? Canadian Broadcasting, right? Now, there's another called CTV, which was an independent version of CBC because CBC.
No, I disagree. CTV is a private entity.
Well, yeah.
It still is.
Yep.
Which is owned by Bell. CBC is a almost fully government subsidized.
That's exactly what I'm saying, David. So just be quiet for a second and let me get the point across. But today, CTV is owned by a nationally self-monopoly in Canada. Bell is still considered a monopoly that's owned by the government. There you go. Controlled by the government.
Bell is not owned by the government. Where do you get that?
It's controlled by the government. Absolutely.
No, the CRTs, they're under government regulation, but Bell
it's an SRO, right? If the CRTC says you can't fart, they won't be able to fetch it.
But that's like any station. That's the same thing as what you have in the FTC. I think it was the same thing in the United States. You have a federal commission that controls the FCC that controls the broadcasting channels.
No, you can broadcast and just be fined for it. Canada, right. I believe Bell is regulating all the phone across Canada.
Stuart, just stick to before we get censored. Just get to your point, please. I don't want to get.
Well, you just made me lose my point. I just lost my point. You just David. You interrupted me. Are you censoring me?
Well, listen, I am censoring you, and you know what, Stuart? Because I don't agree with your opinion, I'm going to shut you down. And ladies and gentlemen, and here's the funny thing.
Yeah, but that's the example. But that's a debate.
But Stuart, the funny thing was, I've talked to a few politicians and I've asked them, and I thought this was just everybody on the right who would say, "Oh, you know what? I hate this. I hate this. I hate this." But because of what Justin has put out there, the uncertainty out there, the left is nervous, the right is nervous, because the question is, what will you censor today? And this is the whole thing that scares people. Is we've created a medium where it's the internet, which has been sharing information. And yes, I agree, we should take down all websites that are racial, non-factual. But if I put my opinion out there, nobody really knows what to do. And so this is the problem. So how do you decide, and who gets to decide? Who's the arbiter, Stuart, of what's right and what's wrong and what can be put on, what cannot be put on? And this scares the living hell out of me, that whoever controls the medium controls the message. We've seen it. You and I have talked about agenda media. Wow, if you could control agenda media, magically you can control all media in all of its forms. But Stuart, the thing is that what Justin has done was destroy communication in Canada. As I said earlier, I was involved with a local community newspaper. I can't be, you can't post online. You got to be creative to post online. It's ridiculous. But you can't spread the love like you used to. And that's thanks to Justin. And CTV, with all private entity who has many, many channels under its umbrella with news and whatever, CBC, all of the states are in the same boat because Justin wants to control. He puts it under the veil of this Canadian content ecosystem. That's a beautiful veil. And there are stupid Canadians who believe this is wonderful, but it's censorship. And censorship is what non-democratic leaders use to control the population. Now imagine that in the United States, in England, and in other democracies. What would happen in the United States if Joe Biden tomorrow passes legislation that he wants to censor the internet? What would be the reaction, Stuart?
Okay, well, the reaction would be horrible, but I misspoke, David, and you're right. Bell is the 5th largest company in Canada. And it is a monopoly in wired communications in Canada. It is not a monopoly in cellular because its competitor, TELUS, does operate its own towers. However, all those towers eventually get onto Bell Canada's or BCE's fiber, making it an official monopoly. Sorry, just had to straighten it out. I misspoke, so I wanted to give David You're right, David.
No, that happened very early. Look, Stuart, I'm gonna listen. You said to me, I can only imagine if Donald Trump would have gotten up and said to everybody, I want to force the Googles and the X and all the rest of the guys. Imagine Zuckerberg and Musk and all the rest of them. What would they do? Imagine if they shut down all the distribution of all the media channels.
Well, in Cuba, the broadcasting network is closed. And how the U.S. was able to broadcast Free America was they flew wire-tethered balloons into the atmosphere so that anyone in Cuba was able to get news in Free America.
Well, there we go.
Where there's a will, David, there's a way. David, when satellites were illegal in Canada, the Canadians ran to Plattsburgh, bought satellites, and put them on their Canadian roofs, even though that it wasn't illegal.
It was U.S. satellite. Let's be clear. Stuart, wrap it up here, please.
All right, I'm wrapping it up. That's all for today's episode. I truly made a blunder today, so if you don't like me, you get to laugh at me. And it's okay. I promise I won't censor you. Thank you. Enjoyed this increasingly hostile conversation between David and I about the C11 bill, which is truly censorship with a capital C, right? That's why I go C11. Sit back, relax every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. In the meantime, don't forget to follow us. Don't forget to like us. Don't forget to haze us, message us, or pass this off to a friend. Memes are accepted. Guys, any last words, David?
Have a great